All right, so we're officially started now. I'm just going to reintroduce myself for anyone who just jumped on. Hello, my name is Dakota Nelson. I am a learning program facilitator at the museum for the summer. I'm super excited to be leading this online program about the mystery specimen. A little bit about myself. I am Musqueam Zaudeno from Kinkum Inlet, which is part of the Kwakwaka'wakw Nations, and I am Tahltan from Telegraph Creek, which is a little bit northern BC. I am going into my final year of a double major in Indigenous Studies and Anthropology, so I'm super excited to be at the museum this summer.
Hi everyone, my name is Rudy. I am a public services librarian over at the Greater Victoria Public Library, working out of the Wanda Fuca Library. I am excited to tell you about the summer reading club program that the library hosts every summer and to tell you about a few other programs that are happening as well. And then hopefully give you some book recommendations after we discover what the mystery specimen is. So if it's okay, I'm just going to jump in and talk to you about the summer reading club. Is that good? So if you haven't heard about our summer reading club program, this year's theme is called Crack the Case, which is perfect for the Royal BC Museum program today to crack the case for the mystery specimen. So what we are encouraging anyone who is 12 and under is to come to the library to pick up a reading record. And we encourage you to read for at least 20 minutes a day. And every day when you finish reading, might be a little bit tricky to see, but we're just going to get you to color in a dot for every day. And once you read for 7 days, you can add a sticker onto your reading record. And we want you to read for at least 7 weeks over the summer. And once you're finished, you can come back to the library to collect your final prize, which is a medal that you get, which says Crack the Case. And you get to pick up a brand new book for you to keep. So if you're reading over the summer, you can read whatever you'd like, books at home, books from the library, books from the museum. We encourage family reading, we encourage individual reading, from picture books to graphic novels to nonfiction, anything that catches your interest. We just would like for you to read for at least 20 minutes a day. So that's the Summer Reading Club program. We also have a program called RAR, which is Read and Write Reviews. Now this program is for anyone who is 10 to 18, and we are interested in hearing your reviews about some of the books that you've been reading over the summer. Every time, if you put in a review, your name gets entered for a draw, and this year's big prize is winning a Nintendo Switch console, so it's pretty nice. And if you're not interested in those programs, or if you're older, we also have these really great take and make bags that are being handed out every so often. They're basically craft bags so that you can pick up a bag and it has all the ingredients to make the craft that's inside of this bag. And they're all different. So for more information about any of these programs or any other programs that are happening at the library, you can visit the Greater Victoria Public Library website at www.gvpl.ca. And it doesn't cost anything to get a membership. So I hope to see many of you at the library. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That sounds super exciting. Definitely some good incentive to read over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dakota, I think you're up.
All right, perfect. So let's get started. So I spent the afternoon walking around with Kim, and we kind of went on this journey and trying to figure out what our mystery item was. So we kind of journeyed throughout the museum, and I'm just going to share some fun stuff that I learned along the way. So if you could click to the next actually the question of the day. Right, forgot to do the territorial acknowledgement. So I would like to acknowledge that the Royal BC Museum is located on the traditional territories of the Lekwungen people, and we extend our appreciation for the opportunity to live and learn on this territory, especially as someone who is not from here. Super grateful to be able to live and work on these territories. It's where we are, it's where we journeyed around. So my question of the day is, if you could have any animal as a pet, like wild, like outside of your traditional, I guess, standard pets like cats and dogs and fish, what would you choose? I think that wolves and eagles are like my favorite animals, so I think it'd be interesting for that. If I had a pet wolf, I would never be scared if I went on a walk. So it kind of adds that safety feature. So yeah, if you could have any animal as your pet, what would you choose?
For me, if possible, I would definitely a sea otter.
That'd be pretty cute.
Yeah, make a little pond in my backyard.
There's a bear. Ooh, that would also add to your safety aspect. They look so cuddly too, so cuddly and warm. Yeah, I just think wolves are super neat. A cheetah. Ooh, that would be pretty cool. Their fur looks super soft. A hawk or a falcon. Ooh, definitely some cool answers. All right, so here is the mystery item. It's got two parts to it. I'm also going to show it to you on the screen. A giraffe for your brother. Ooh. Is there any reason why it's a giraffe? Is he tall? Do you want to just give him a tall companion? So I will show you, it has two parts to it. So you can get a better view of our mystery. He loves giraffes. I think they're pretty cool too. I had like a slight giraffe obsession after I went through like a Madagascar phase with the movies. Anyways, here is our mystery item. It has two parts to it. I'm just gonna wear my gloves to show you each part here. And you got a view of it on the screen as well. So if you could go on to the next slide. Actually, does anyone have any guesses right off the bat what you think this item is? It definitely stumped me at first. So here it is, when you put it together. Definitely could be a few different things. Any guesses? No? All right, if we can go to the next slide, beechwood. Ooh. Yeah, it's kind of got the texture for that with the lines. So we started off here in the handling collection. This is where I am now, as you see with all the birds and stuff behind me. So we took a look in our archaeology collection because it does look similar to some of the stuff that we have in our archaeology collection. You can't really quite tell here, but the textures aren't quite the same. This is super light. So we kind of ruled this one out, but it was kind of cool to get to dig through some of the stuff that we have in our archaeology collection, which is super neat. But we kind of ruled out archaeology purely because of the texture and the weight didn't quite match up. So our next stop was in the exhibits at the ocean station. If you can move to the next slide, please. So when you put it together, it kind of looks like a claw, maybe like some of the pincers. So we went to the ocean station to try to compare to some of the crabs that we have there. The color was a bit off, and again, the weight wasn't quite the same, so we ruled it out. However, a fun fact that I learned about crab pincers was that they actually communicate by flapping their pincers or drumming their claws. So that was a fun little tidbit that we learned along the way. However, I don't think it is a crab leg. So from there, we stopped at the Fraser River Delta, and it kind of looked like a beak. It was about as light as a beak. So we kind of compared it to some of the birds that we had there. Something we learned about the eagle beak is that they're actually made of keratin, which it just continues to grow as they age. And keratin is actually kind of the stuff that you find in our fingernails and our hair as well. So that was a fun fact. Unless anyone actually does think that this is an eagle beak, we kind of rolled it up purely because of the color of it. And it wasn't quite the same shape. Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I didn't know that. I think it's similar for most, not all birds, but I think for a lot of beaks, it is made of keratin, which will kind of break and grow as our fingernails do. So I thought that was pretty cool. So we ruled out that it wasn't the birds, unfortunately. However, kind of with the, I don't know if you can see, kind of with the lines on the item, that maybe it could be a seashell, maybe it could be similar to rocks or kelp or something that you find along the beach. So we made a stop at the seashore and we went in the little tide pool to see if we could compare it to any of the shells. None of them quite matched up, unfortunately. But the shell that Kim is actually pointing to in the photo there is actually called a keyhole limpet. And it gets that name because it has a little hole at the top of its shell. And you can usually find those along rocky shores and seabeds. So that was a little fun fact. It's a sea slug. So, however, this item is not, in fact, a sea slug, unfortunately. But it was cool to see all the little marine figures. Definitely get some ideas, I guess, as well for any pet animals that you want that you can't actually take home with you. So unfortunately, we didn't find it at that stop, tree bark. We did stop there. We didn't get any photos looking at that, but it does kind of look like that, especially if you can't really, it's hard to show the texture of it on the camera. But unfortunately, it wasn't tree bark either. And then we went to our last stop, kind of journeyed behind the scenes. We went to our Department of Invertebrates and Zoology to kind of crack the case. Are there any final guesses? This was our last stop. This is where we figured out what it was. Are there any final guesses as to what you think it is once we get to this department? Kind of giving you a hint here. Bird body. Close-ish. It's in the title. So this item is actually an octopus beak. So you're kind of close with the, I guess, the bird. They both have beaks. They serve different purposes, however. So yeah, this is actually an octopus beak, which I personally wouldn't have guessed just by looking at it. The octopus beaks are actually at the center, in between its, like, all its legs. Animal skin. Yeah, that could definitely be part animal skin. So it's actually at the center of all its, like, tentacles, which is hard to see. So in the next slide, actually, yeah, neither did I. It's super cool. So in this jar here is actually a giant Pacific octopus, which is what we found in the department, the invertebrate department. And the giant Pacific octopus is actually the most common ones that we have in BC, at least. I believe there's up to 9 species of octopuses that have been recorded, but the giant Pacific octopus is the largest and the most common. So yeah, we actually determined that it was an octopus beak, and I didn't know that octopus had beaks. So it is, the mouth of the octopus is hidden in the middle of the web that connects the arms. And actually behind the beak in the center is where the octopus produces the poison that it uses in kind of self-defense mechanisms, which is super neat. And you can actually get some info from the beak itself. So scientists can measure both parts of the beak, and it can determine like the mantle length from this, which is kind of like the body aside from the tentacles, if that makes sense. So you can actually determine the length of the mantle and the weight potentially of the octopus just by measuring the beak, which I found super neat. And we do actually have kind of an octopus beak. It's not quite as good as the visual in our handling collection here. I don't know if you can kind of see that. It looks kind of weird just sitting in a jar, but I think it's super neat. There's one part of it, and then here is the other part of it. So
Dakota, I just stopped sharing the screen so we could see that a little bit better. Do you want to put that up again?
So here is like this part of the octopus beak there. It kind of split in the jar, and then here is the other part. It doesn't look quite as cool in the jar. I think it looks kind of weird. If you see this sitting on a shelf, you're kind of like, what the heck is that? But I found it super cool. So you can actually determine the mantle length and the weight just by measuring. Yeah, just by measuring that. Some other just fun facts and tidbits about octopus that I learned is that they're super intelligent. They're like masters of camouflage. They can blend into their scenery, I believe, in 0.3 of a second. They can change their entire body to camouflage within the scenery that it's in when it needs to, which I found super cool. They actually have 3 hearts too. Octopus have 3 hearts. So there's one heart to pump the blood to the body, the main part of the body, like the mantle, and then the other 2 are to kind of pump the blood to the gills and all the tentacles and stuff. So learned a lot of fun stuff along the way. Yeah, that was our little journey throughout the museum. Try to figure out what this little tidbit is. Does anyone else have any fun fact about octopus? I found it super cool. How do you preserve the octopus beak? I forgot what this is. Chris, do you remember what this liquid is called? I think it's ethanol.
Yeah, it's most likely ethanol.
Yeah. So we have these fun things in jars. I actually found this in the handling collection. It's another octopus. This is the same as the one in the PowerPoint, and it's from 1997, and it's unknown where it was from, but fun things preserved in jars with ethanol.
And you can really get a sense of the difference of size too.
Yeah, they can range for sure. Octopus actually have a fairly short lifespan. It's typically up to 2 to 3 years at most. Some of them only live for 6 months, which is kind of sad. But yeah, there's a lot of diversity and range in octopus and how intelligent they are, which I found super cool. And they can fit into super small spaces. I mean, you see in some videos online about octopus, you can see them squeeze through like the tiny little parts of the boat. But yeah, thank you for coming along on a journey to figure out what that was. Learned a lot of fun stuff about octopus.
Dakota, there's a participant, Megan, who mentioned that they knew how octopus can camouflage, but I agree with Megan. I had no idea that they can camouflage that quickly.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
It's crazy. I didn't realize how fast it could be, because I also knew that they could camouflage, but I didn't know it was that fast.
Yeah. Well, if it's okay with you, I'd love to share a couple of books that I have here.
Yeah.
So I was just looking through our collection, and I noticed that we have a book called Octopuses here, which has interesting facts about these strange and wonderful creatures. So this is by Lawrence Pringle, and it's got, you probably can't see this information, but it's got lots of really great illustrations, and talks about different types of octopi. So there's lots of really great information at the library in the nonfiction collection. I also picked up this one, which is, it's got a yellow sticker on it, which just means that it's a primary book, which means it's for a younger group of kids. But that doesn't mean anything because I love looking at pictures. So it's just really nice little illustrations again. It's a bit hard to see on my screen, but we have these in the nonfiction collection. As the journey you're going through, and I of course didn't know at the very beginning earlier that you were going to be talking about an octopus beak. So I was sort of trying to figure it out myself before the program, and I came across some sea animal books as well. So this is called W is for Waves. It's an ocean alphabet. This series is really fun because there's a whole bunch of different alphabet books. So you can go A is for adventure and so on. And so this one I found W is for whales, an ocean adventure alphabet. So it just goes through all the different letters of the alphabet and talks about ocean animals. So, or what it's about. And then I wanted to also mention a couple of books that I've been reading over the summer and thought that maybe with the mystery theme, that this would be really great for anyone who's looking for the next sort of read or what you might be interested in. I don't know if some of you have ever heard of the series called I Survived. This is a really cool series because it's based on true events that have happened in the past. And so basically, it's like an adventure where it's a story about a kid who survives the tragic event or the horrific event. So this one is about Hurricane Katrina that happened in 2005. And so it's based about, evacuating a hurricane scene and quickly. So this is really interesting. We also have one that just came out in 2018 about the Canadian forest fires in BC, so that might be of interest. And of course, I mean, could you survive Cretaceous predators or period? I don't know, that looks a bit scary. I probably, if I ever saw a T-Rex like this or whatever dinosaur this is, it's fairly scary. I'd probably faint. I'd have no survival skills for this one. Speaking of mysteries, this one's a really great one. This is Ra the Mighty, the Great Tomb Robbery. This one's really fantastic because it's about two characters, Ra, who is a very princessy cat, and Scrab. He's a bit of a dung-obsessed beetle who's actually the brains behind the detective duo. So it's just a really fun little duo that cracks the case in a lot of these mysteries. And they take you back into ancient Egypt period. What I really like about this is that there's facts that are weaved into the story. So not only are you reading a comical book, but you're also learning about ancient Egypt as well. So there's the Ra the Mighty. And I'm just going to give you a couple of more recommendations here. I really love graphic novels. So if you are just starting to read, or maybe you finished a heavy book or a big novel, and you just want to read something light, these are really fun because they're just like little graphic novels. Not too much text, but they have a really great story. This is Billy Stewart in the Eye of the Cyclops, where they go back into time. The text is very much like Geronimo Stilton, which is always fun. Lots of great pictures, lots of great adventure. This is Cave Mice. Lots of mysteries involved in these ones as well. Oh, my screen is really hard to see. And of course, one of my favorite collections are anything that's weird but true. So this is about dinosaurs. And that's about it. So if you have any questions, there is in the chat there. Thank you, Chris. That the Greater Victoria Public Library website is gvpl.ca, and then you can go to SRC for Summer Reading Club information as well.
Thank you so much for all those great recommendations.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I did, yes. And if you do read any of those books, or if you've got books that you've been reading, great to put in those reviews as well.
I'll just jump in real quick and see how big is the octopus beak. I don't have the exact measurements, and I'm kind of horrible at guessing, but I would say that the dry ones that we have here are probably about an inch. I want to say an inch each. This definitely has more weight to it as like this part here, I would say, is definitely like a few inches, and it's a lot thicker as it's preserved from the octopus. But the dry beaks, I would say that they're probably about like an inch long. The upper and lower beaks, at least.
And if you see it with the animal, that's just sort of peeking out.
Yeah, you can't really see it on the animal.
Yeah.
Kind of hidden in between all the tentacles. But yeah.
I'm just gonna jump in here, just to say hi and just thank it's last year we worked with the Greater Victoria Public Library, and was so fantastic to be able to work with all the amazing librarians there. So like, we're here at the museum, we're big fans of libraries wherever you are in every community. And thank you so much, Dakota, for doing that adventure through the museums and all the way to behind the scenes as well, because it definitely a mystery specimen.
For sure.
So we're going to do this next week as well, next Wednesday, and Dakota will have a mystery object. So some sort of mystery object that we also might need to do another sort of exploration through the museum, and maybe up to the 3rd floor of the museum to find out what that is. So definitely join us next Wednesday as well. And thanks you two so much. That was really fun.
Thanks for joining, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, so I'm gonna